All right, hi everyone, and welcome to Season 2 of the Mediaverse Studios podcast. Tonight we have Neel Ghosh with us. Neel is a professional stand-up comedian and an accomplished musician, and he's from the Cedar Rapids area and currently lives in Brooklyn, and we're very grateful to have him. Thanks for coming.
Jake. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. How are you doing tonight, Neel?
I'm good. It's great to be in the great city of Marengo.
Yeah. So you were back in Cedar Rapids area for the holidays?
Yeah. Yep.
Gotcha.
Just visiting family and saw my niece. She just turned 2.
Awesome.
And she's great. Every time I see her, she's still like, I don't think she like registers who I am. So like, there's like there's the first 5 minutes of like her being like, who is this? And then we play peekaboo and it's all good.
Right on.
Yeah.
You gotta have those kids.
That's how it is.
Okay, so kind of, I guess, just give us some of your story, some of your background, something that people out there can kind of get to know you from.
Yeah. Like you said, I'm from Cedar Rapids. I was born and raised here. And after college, I moved out to LA, started doing stand-up, and auditions, the whole thing. And then I moved during the pandemic. I had got back into music and moved to New York for this graduate program, and I've been there.
Wow.
Been there since. So right now I'm like kind of hybridizing comedy and music, and like it feels like a fun.
Yeah, I saw on
thing.
your Instagram you do have some of that, like you will like sing a song, or you'll play a song, and then you'll like have just like hilarious lyrics to it, and it's like a bit, but it's also very musical, and like they both mesh really well.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
Thanks. Yeah, I like really, because there's a lot of musical comedy, and like I don't want the comedy to be like the music part. Like I make the music in earnest.
Sure.
And then everything else is really stupid. Like the words are dumb and like absurd, and it's a fun time.
Yeah, the music's really good, man. You're very good at
Thanks,
that.
man. Are you a musician?
I'm not. I mean, I have some musical background, but I don't think of myself as a musician. I played the trumpet in high school and like jazz band and stuff.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
And I saw that you also do jazz saxophone.
Yeah.
Which is very cool.
I was very much a high school jazz band.
Hell yeah.
Kid. Those were the times.
Yeah, man.
You said you're from Marengo?
Originally from Oladora, but I went to high school here in Marengo.
And then, so you had a jazz band?
We had a little jazz band, yeah. It was like 6:30 a.m. practices. You'd get there in the middle of winter, and you'd go to like the competitions at like co-college and stuff, right?
Yeah, that co-competition.
Yep.
It's big time. It's weird that they like had competitions for
jazz band. Yeah, it was crazy.
That never made sense with me, but I was into it.
Oh, yeah.
As a kid, I was like super, like, we gotta win. We gotta play sophisticated lady the best. And it's like bizarre kind of thing. Did y'all have a full band? Like, you had a full...
Yeah, we had a full like concert band, and then you would kind of break off. There was like a jazz band. I think there was also what the heck was it? Well, a marching band.
Oh, yeah.
I guess it was, right? Everyone's got a marching band.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, band times in high school, man.
Oh, yeah.
I just... Yeah, I was talking about it with a friend who I was visiting with yesterday, and we're just like, why was that so competitive? Like,
right?
Why? It wasn't until I was like in my 20s I was like, oh, music is like good. It's like good for the soul to express yourself.
Yeah,
in like
I remember just getting like so nervous and stuff. I've had a solo, and it was just like super nerve wracking. But nowadays it's just like, oh, this is just really fun and creative and a nice outlet.
Yeah, it's a nice outlet. I think that part gets lost in the education part of
it. They like gamify it to the point where it's not about the art; it's more about the winning. And
I like that term, gamifying it. Yeah, that's exactly what happens. Right. And anyway, so yeah, that's kind of been my journey thus far. There's some specifics in there, but like, yeah, that's kind of been, it's been it.
Nice. So what drove you to head to LA initially?
So I did college in Atlanta, and I started doing improv there, and that was like, oh man, like college improv is like, you think you're a god because it's like, it's stupid. It's like all students watching you. It's like your friends, and then it's like kind of, it's not like a sanctioned event by the school, so everybody's like able to drink and just have a really good time, and it's just, you would just crush. Everybody would crush every single time. So I was like, oh, I want to do comedy because that feels right. And then I had mentor, Ruben Medina, who is an improviser in Atlanta at Dad's Garage, which is a great improv theater.
Hmm.
And I was like, should I stay in Atlanta after college or go to LA or New York? He's like, well, you want to be an actor. And I was like, yeah, that interests me. So at the time, he was like, well, if you can go, you should just go. And
Well,
so that was kind of it. That was really
sure.
the drive. Like, it was just one person being like, you should go.
It's a hell of a mentor.
It really,
Get you to
he
move, pick up your roots
really,
and go.
he really, really was.
Yeah.
He was a really good mentor and improviser. And
Wow.
yeah, I really owe him. That was like a real fork in the road moment
Sure.
to have somebody. But, also, like, LA was a really hard place to start stand up
Sure.
because
Yep.
it's such a showcase kind of city. It's hard to just, like,
Oh,
develop there without that in the back of your brain. Like, how
trying to
do
break in.
Yeah, there's a lot of break-in energy from everybody. Everybody's like kind of there to do that.
Sure.
And so it took me a few years to like find a community, find friends that just loved comedy.
Wow.
And then it became really nice and fun. But the first few years were really hard.
Yeah. How long were you there?
I was there for 6 years.
6 years.
Yeah. I mean, including the pandemic. So like really 22 to 26.
Okay.
Yeah, 4 years in the pandemic,
Yeah.
which was 2
Kinda locked
years.
you down.
So yeah.
So how did you go about finding your community? I guess there.
Man, I mean, this is so vital to all. I mean, you guys have it here.
You gotta have your tribe.
You really do. It seems like y'all are developing it here. Like that really makes or breaks it, I think, because if you don't have that, it's a very isolating endeavor. The creative,
Especially in LA.
oh my
Jeez.
God, yeah, and you're just like in your car alone, and like you go to mics alone, and you go to shows alone. It's just like, for me, it was just getting up everywhere that I could, and then kind of finding places that felt more comfortable, felt more like,
Sure.
places that you could really try stuff and feel accepted in a way, and then just meeting friends through that. And also a big thing for me too was like I started a show. I ran a show out of my friend's backyard for like 2 years or something like that.
Like an open mic kind of show, or what did you
Like
what
a
was
book show. It was like
Okay.
I would book the line. I would book comics that I really respected,
Gotcha.
so that it would give me a chance to like hang out with them.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's kind of nefarious,
Smart.
I guess. Yeah, it
That's
was
really smart.
yeah. I was
love
just like, man, I never, like if you go to a show and they're on it, it's kind of weird to be. And I also felt weird to just like rolling up on people and be like, oh, hey, what's up? I'm Neel. Like,
Right.
I wanted to have a thing that was cool. They could come to and be like, wow, this is a cool vibe, blah, blah, blah. And then I get to do a set. And then, like,
Yeah.
it felt more comfortable to kind of like proof of concept
Yep.
myself and then introduce and hang. And that was really, I mean, also a big part of it too was like, I just wanted to feel more a part of the community, like provide a space that felt like, oh, I want to do that show because it's a cool show. So that was a big driver of that was that show. And then that moved to like started running another show at a bigger venue and then, just kind of
Wow.
building from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dang, that's cool.
It
It's kind of like a if you build it, they will come scenario.
It was a field of dreams scenario.
Very much.
Absolutely.
Hello, Iowa.
Yeah. We're in Iowa, so that's that.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So you went to LA to do comedy, but also to try acting. How
Yeah.
did that go?
It was fine. I got a commercial agent pretty soon after I got out there because it just worked out through a friend of a friend of a friend. And yes, started doing those auditions, man, and it's like really not fun or or like fulfilling in any way.
Wow, how come?
Because like, you starting to get into there's no like, there's a bit of craft, I guess, but like at the end of the day, you're selling a product, and companies, they're gonna make decisions based off of who they think will sell their product the best.
Got it.
And so like, I don't know. There was like some, you get really far in like a callback process, and it's like there's been a few where it was like big spots, like really big companies and stuff. And I remember just a few of them like getting all the way to the end, doing the audition for the people of said brand, and then like you don't hear anything back, and you're like, oh well, that's just how it goes. And then like seeing the spot with just like the exact same spot with just like white actors, and you're like, wow, okay, well they have to sell shoes to to majority white people, and it's like, wow, it was kind of discouraging because it's
Right.
so like, oh, we want to be diverse, we want to be, and it was like kind of just,
Yeah.
it was like, all right, well we brought them all the way to the end, but like we're not gonna actually
Sure.
use them, right?
Right. Like they're just checking the box to say,
Exactly.
oh, we auditioned so many, of this demographic or that
Exactly.
demographic. And-
Exactly. Pat yourself on the back.
Oh man.
But not to say I did some stuff that was really cool and
Sure.
fun, but yeah, that process is really demoralizing. Like you go on a lot and you don't get a lot, and then you never find out why. That's like,
Oh, wow.
like it's
There's no feedback
there's
process.
no feedback. Like criticism would be great because you could then learn
How do you grow
and
from that?
build. Exactly. But it's just like, no. And then you're like, all right, I have to do another one tomorrow. And it's like,
So you just wasted all of that time and gas going to and from
oh
places.
my God, and parking. And yeah, dude, I'm like, I'm grateful for it because I did it and like I saw and, booked a few things here and there. But like everything that has felt creatively fulfilling I'd say like 90% of it has come through like community oriented stuff, like, relationships with other people who
Yeah.
get on and they're like, oh, come do this. And
Right. It's not about the geographic location you're in. It's not that there's something magical about LA. It's the small pockets of communities that people
Yeah.
find themselves in that work out.
yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
I think that there's a misconception of that kind of where someone will go to LA to be an actor, to become a star or whatever.
Yeah.
And they end up in that loop of attrition. They burn themselves out and then they're not getting that creative fulfillment they thought they would be getting once they're there.
Yeah.
That's just kind of my own personal diatribe on LA. but
No,
whatever.
totally. I agree. Like, and I think it's so important to have like your why when you start a creative endeavor. Like,
Yes.
do you just want to be kind of known for what you do? Like, do you want to make money? Do you really just love to act and you'll do anything to kind of, be in the hustle and all that? And like, a lot of people, particularly LA, like they'll just go out there because they want to be seen or whatever.
Sure.
And like, I'm not saying I don't have a level of that, but that's not my main driver.
Right.
Like, obviously, we're in front of two cameras right now. Like, there's a level of being seen that
Sure.
like we have to accept and be
Right.
cool with. But like,
But at the same time, you're also serving your community by, being in front of these cameras and giving your thoughts and your insights into things.
yeah, and it's yeah. I don't know why, like. I don't know. Listen, we don't have to make this really hypercritical like diatribe.
We can go as deep or as high as we want.
Okay,
Man. It's all good.
I just feel like now social media. Like I got out there in 2015, and social media wasn't really as crazy. I feel like the pandemic really notched it up a level where it's like everybody's this like hyper influencer, and it's like
Yeah.
everybody's an expert. Everybody's trying to hook you to like follow them. Even the term followers is like
Yeah.
biblical. Like, why is
Right.
that the term that we
Yeah.
use?
Buy my program, follow me, be
Yeah.
my disciple, whatever.
Yeah, for real. And it's like I don't know. It's kind of scary. Like, and that was something that I found in New York has been so kind of refreshing. Is like people are just what I've seen. And again, no shade to the people in LA. I'm just saying like the industry is what it is. Like in New York, people are just kind of in the shit and they like really love doing this weird thing and they find their spaces, they find their community and they just do it. Like it's not really this like driven by
Sure. Less industry and more creativity kind of mentality.
my own personal experience.
Wow.
That's what I've found.
That's cool. So I wanted to go back to, you mentioned like finding your why.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to ask, like, what is your why and like how did you develop it over time? Like why comedy? Why music? Why why be out here?
Yeah, I mean, like, not like a real answer, not really a funny answer, but like, yeah, I grew up here. That was like one of, excluding my family, one in my elementary, middle school, and high school. I was like one of one Indian kids. So like, for me, comedy was always such a natural diffuser. A way to be like, hey, I'm just like you, or like, let me use what makes us different to like, we can laugh about it and make feel. So that was like, I think kind of like a survival thing that I developed. And then
Interesting.
when I was like 9 or 10, my mom and we went to Target, and like I saw this like Chris Rock album. It's like a compilation of like his Bigger and Blacker and God, Bring the Pain,
Mm-hmm.
all those like highlights. And I just like wanted it. I don't know what it was. My mom, she got it for me because she's from India. She didn't know what like explicit content labels were.
Gotcha.
So I would just listen to that album so much, and to hear somebody like talking about, like stuff that was so tenuous and like tenuous, whatever, and get laughter received like that. It was so intriguing to me. And then that kind of led me to like just more comedians, more things, and so I just the art form itself was like soothing for me, like. And then so when I got to be, in college and stuff, I was like, well, I just want to try this.
Right.
And then I just really loved it.
Sure.
It was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. It felt like a really good way to talk about stuff that I just kind of had within myself. I could talk about it, and then people could relate. And that's the cool thing now is like, because they're younger, there's more diversity in these areas. And so like to talk about these things, and whenever people comment or they come up to you after a show, they're like, oh, dude, that part about blah, blah, blah. Like, I really related to that. Like, is cool. That part's rewarding.
Getting to relate to people and like getting
to
speak their language.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's totally just trying to relate to people.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you? Are you like with filmmaking and now you have this studio and this team of, well, it's just Mike right now, but just a team of people. Like what kind of drives what you guys are doing?
I think that at our core, we're storytellers, and that's what we love to do. Whether it's through a one-on-one medium like this, or if it's through film or through writing or whatever. At the very like subterranean layer, we like to just tell stories, and that's what our why is. And you can send messages that way. You can get a point across, or you can just make someone laugh, or you can make someone like think something, or whatever. And that's kind of the nice power of this craft. And then that's all the lights, and there's the cameras, and there's all the technology and craft that goes around that. But yeah, that's what we're doing here, and we're trying to help grow this community. There's a lot of little indie filmmakers in the Midwest, Iowa especially. And so that's honestly, we're just trying to provide them resources and a space to get their stories told. Yeah, that's what we want.
That's why every time I come back, there's more and more like production hubs, just like storytellers doing it in Iowa, which is really, really cool. And
we're getting good at it.
Yeah,
like, there's a lot of good talent here.
Yeah,
and for some reason they're sticking around. There's some people that like go off to Chicago or LA or whatever, and they make it big, and that's awesome. But they still come back. Like we just had a director from LA who's from Iowa, Marissa Vaughn.
Oh yeah.
She shot a feature film here in Iowa and not premiered it, but she screened it in Des Moines for the first time. And it's great. Like everyone really respects her, looks up to her, and
that's really cool.
Really good stuff.
Yeah, you find just like generally speaking, people from Iowa just have that thing in them where they like. That's always been a hope of mine, is to like do something here, like get everybody together and put the barn up, kind of shit. Like it's like that is such a cool thing about Iowans, and Iowa to me is like everybody. No matter how far you go, you always kind of like find yourself come back. And
absolutely, it's always nothing else. I've been around the country. Nothing else has really felt like home.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man.
So you ended up in Brooklyn. That was for a graduate program?
Yeah. So yeah, I got really into like live looping. This guy, Mark Rebier, I got into his videos like right before the pandemic. It was actually really kind of weirdly, I don't know, serendipitous or something. I remember just seeing his videos and being like, wow, this is interesting. And it felt, because I grew up playing music, jazz band. And I originally went to college for music, and then I stopped to do stand up and all this other stuff.
Right.
And like, I saw that and I was like, whoa, this feels like a really full circle connection between the two.
Yeah.
Him, and then that led me to, I was aware of Reggie Watts, but I hadn't really like
Yeah.
dived into what he did, and just like seeing that. Beardy Man, who's this great YouTuber beatboxer
I
guy.
heard of him.
Yeah. And obviously Bo Burnham, what he does is incredible. So like kind of just seeing all that and being like, well, that seems interesting. And then the lockdown happened, and I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna learn how to use this equipment. And
Yeah.
like, oh my God, just like the process of getting everything set up
Sure.
was so tedious. And like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
dude, yeah, it's incredible. So yeah, that's then I was doing that over the pandemic, and I was just like, at home trying to make a thing a week and putting it out, and my comedy friends were like, yo, this is dope, like you should keep
Yeah.
doing this. And then I got some Instagram ad for this master's program at the New School in Manhattan, and it was like, they were like, we have a master's program, it's like composition, performance, and technology.
Wow.
And I was like, that's kind of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like, doing a song about like pee pee poo poo, but like this is a composition, technically. And so I sent in an application being like, this is either going to be the quickest application they've rejected, or like they might actually take it. And,
Right.
I always wanted to live in New York for a little bit. And yeah, they hooked up the scholarship. So that was a
Wow.
great blessing. And like,
Wow.
I was able to move out there and do the program. And that was really awesome, man.
Yeah.
Because like, musicians are wonderful people.
Yeah.
And so like, and also very accepting of like really weird. This particular program was like a mix of like jazz conservatory kids, classical conservatory kids, people that did like just avant-garde stuff,
Sure.
and then like new music,
Just a bunch of brilliant weirdos.
just like, yeah. And then I felt really out of place because I was like comedy,
Oh, sure.
and
Yeah.
like, but kind of a jazz background, but got a really cool band out of it. I play with some other people and like using, the looping station the way that I had seen it been used by Mark. I was able to like take my saxophone and kind of create like a different language that works for me around that.
That's cool.
That was able to use it in a musical way, and that's been really exciting.
Yeah.
To just like be in. I kind of feel like I'm straddling two spaces right now, but they both feel really like invigorating creatively. So
I think it's like a really special thing when people find connective tissue between crafts that they enjoy,
Yeah.
and they find a way to elevate both through each other.
yeah, and it's so hard because like or challenging because there's so much like, well, I should just pick one and really dive into it, but
Yeah.
our brains are so acclimated to kind of picking up multiple things and
Right.
figuring out how to stitch them together is like really, really fun and challenging process.
Nice.
So it's kind of crazy how I would never have wanted to go back to grad school after undergrad, but like this program just kind of was right timing. I don't
Yeah.
know. It just kind of worked out. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask about your comedy, kind of your stand-up routine.
Yeah.
What is, and I don't know much about stand-up comedy, honestly. Like I've never done it before. I've never, I've been to a few comedy shows, but
Yeah.
what is kind of your approach to your set, or your, writing a bit, or, just
Yeah.
crafting a joke?
So yeah, I mean, like, I'm not a good like writer.
Mhm.
I'm not really like, I have friends that will like they'll do a mic, they'll do 2 mics, 3 mics, do a show, whatever, and they'll go home and then write for like 2-3 hours after.
Cool.
That's cool. I wish I could do that. I don't have that. So I have to very diligently plan out, like, okay, I need to wake up and write. And what I do writing wise, I kind of go stream of conscious for like, I either set a timer or I set like a number of pages that I want to hit.
Okay.
And then I'll step away from it, and at the end of the week or a few days, I'll go back through and read everything and kind of take out little like nuggets or ideas and be like, oh, that's try that, and then you go try it, and then you bomb, or it goes kind of good, and you're like, okay, well, let me try to expand this thing, and then you talk to your friends about bits, and they help you tack it up, and that's kind of that experience. And then, over the years, you just kind of develop like a really good set. And I've been fortunate enough to feature on the road, and so like I've developed like a 25-minute like routine that I just, just know.
Sure.
Just know how it goes. I know where I'm going, and if we deviate, which is always fun, I love that.
Yeah.
Somebody yells something or whatever, I know how to bring it back.
I like a lot of your crowd work. You have something like your crowd work reels on Instagram and stuff, and those are really fun to watch.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I think there's like stand-up is kind of saturated right now online with like crowd work stuff.
Yeah, that's what you see most of. If you see a comic, they're doing crowd work, and that's like the hot, short reel you can make.
Yeah, and it's so disposable for comedians.
Sure.
Because you're not burning
your set.
Yeah, and there's something kind of like magical thing of like, whoa, someone just interrupted this guy during their job. Like, how is he or she gonna react? Like, whoa, and then they handle it, and then it, and so I think like crowd work is, it's saturated, but like good, good stuff will always.
It's interesting you point that out, because I have noticed that too with, I think it's why people like watching like fighting too, because it's like people get to experience a very stressful or like intense situation remotely and kind of see, let's see how this person handles it, whether it's getting punched in the face or getting like told you suck on stage, and how do you deal with that? That's a sweaty situation, and you're getting through it.
Yeah, I can say that's interesting. Like the hook is kind of this anxiety-inducing thing, and as the viewer, you put yourself in, and you're like, how would I do this, and how are they going to do it? Oh, okay, and then you get the relief of laughter or somebody winning the fight. I guess how that works.
And other stuff like angry drivers. You see that a lot too, or like getting pulled over. Yeah, that kind of like those anxiety-inducing scenarios, getting to experience them and kind of inoculate yourself to that fear. But yeah, it's interesting. People just like to kind of live vicariously through those the bite-sized bits of content through this anxiety-inducing stuff.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, like how we shape. Like I edit my stuff, and so you kind of shape the moment, and the way that things feel in the room is like different than. Okay. Not necessarily different, but it's like, it's like a crafted little bite-sized thing for you to consume.
Right.
And the hope is that you see that and you're like, well, I want to go experience what that is like. So it's been cool. I mean, it's a little different, but like my buddy who I feature for, Michael Blaustein, he got big off of crowdwork clips. So now people come and they will wait 2 hours before the show just to be in the front row because they have something crazy to confess and like they want to be in a clip, which is interesting,
right?
Because then we like do our sets and they're like, wait, what is this?
Right?
What's this like thing that you've crafted? And it's like this is stand up. This is the actual thing that we're trying to do.
Interesting. So you have your set, and then you get a heckler or someone who wants to get their clip, and then you do the crowd work or whatever, and then so you get derailed. How do you kind of recover from that, kind of get back into your set, or do you just reject the joke you were gonna do and just move on? Or
I mean, it depends on the situation. You kind of like feel out what happens in the room. Like if somebody yells something out and you're able to like build momentum off of it, like you just keep going until the moment feels like juiced and you're like, okay, now we can return to the set. I mean, like I have my list. Sure. That's my set. So like, if something happens, I'll just refer to my list and be like, okay, well, now we just go back into it.
Is that like a physical list you have on stage with you?
Yeah, it's like on my phone. Or a notebook.
Gotcha.
And then, if you have like a weekend, by the end of the weekend, you kind of like know you're
Sure.
set. And then you rack up a few weekends. So then you like really know it. And that's
Mm.
actually, I really love that when things derail because it really puts you in the room. It puts everybody in the room. Like,
Explain that feeling.
um, well, I had a show in Virginia Beach where a guy had a seizure like 3 minutes into my set.
I saw that on
Yeah,
Instagram.
okay.
Yeah.
And weirdly enough, that's the only clip of mine that's gone like viral.
Right.
Because I think it is that anxiety inducing
Right.
thing.
Yep.
People are like, oh shit, like how do you deal with that? And like
Hmm.
I remember more than any other moment, the guy ended up being okay, thankfully.
Great.
And then it was like I can almost see like this mass of like tension, and there's a little bit of just kind of like milking it, and then you just start deflating it, and then people laugh. You're like, all right, well, let me just deflate it this other way, and then
Hmm.
then we're just like back into the thing, and everybody's
Interesting.
settled, and
It sounds like an exercise in like energy management almost, like trying to like read the energy and also like respond to the energy in the room.
it kind of is what stand up is. I mean, there's this accepted agreement when everybody's coming in. They're like, I'm here to laugh,
Yep.
but like, yeah, when stuff goes crazy, it's like you do have to kind of like wrangle in
Right.
everybody and be like,
But all
because it can go south
yeah.
quick. Oh man, I had a like my first year in, I went to Australia to do shows, and I was at this like brewery. It was like 250 people, and it was just like nothing, like anything. I was just 250 people just looking at me the whole time. And then I tried to like address how bad it was going.
Oh no.
Didn't work.
Really?
Yeah, it was like really bad. And then
Oof.
I remember getting off, and the next guy went up after me and like first line just crushes. And I'm like, wow, they
Was it you?
really.
What happened?
It must have been me. Like I wasn't
Oh
able to
no.
address the situation in a way that was fun or funny. And the weirdest thing was after the show, people walking by like, "Oh yeah, good job. It was a really good set." And I was like, "Where were you?
Yeah.
Where were you during the actual part where I needed you? This is all fine, but
That's hilarious.
oh my god." Yeah, so then you just man, over just time and time again, and then
Yeah.
like doing shows where it's like I can't tell you how many shows I put on or did where it's like two people,
Just
nobody.
laughing in the audience. Look,
No,
very
just like
minimal.
total in the
Oh, the
audience.
whole audience. Just a
Yeah,
couple
so
people.
then you're
Gotcha.
like, all right, well, like, fuck the set list. Like, I'm just gonna
Practice.
talk to these people
Yeah.
because you make it worth your time and their time, and like, so you just kind of compound all these experiences, and then
Right.
it's actually kind of easier when there's like three, 300, 400 people because you just like the chances of you getting a laugh
Right.
are a little bit higher
Sure. Sure.
versus
And then if one person laughs, most people will laugh, and then
yeah,
everyone will laugh.
yeah. So I mean, yeah, when stuff goes off the rails, I think it's actually
Yeah.
very fun.
Well, because you're also managing your own energy and emotion through that whole thing, and that
Yeah.
sounds super challenging. Like I'm
Yeah.
not great on stage, and I'm not, and there's a lot of like I don't know social phobia that I think a lot of people have, and
uh.
that I don't know comedians are able to negotiate that very well.
That's interesting. Wait, and is that just in a public speaking setting or like?
I don't know. I'm just kind of I don't have like stage fright, I guess,
Yeah.
but I feel like a lot of people just have this general, distaste for getting up and talking in front of a group of people, especially if it's something where you have to create an emotion for them.
Yeah.
Trying to create laughter for them and create a situation
Right.
that's funny.
Right.
That's the expectation, and if you can't deliver, you're gonna bomb, and
Right.
that's like a huge fear.
Yeah. 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 But like most failing, you fail,
Right.
and then it's like, oh, okay, I'm still here.
Right.
I'll just like do it again, and then you always learn something. Like you learn so much more from failing. I'm sure it's the same in filmmaking.
Sure.
Like
Yeah, absolutely it is.
you learn so much more from the whatever errors you make than necessarily the stuff that goes really well. So
Right.
yeah, I mean yeah, and then part of stand up too is like this inherently you'll fail like a lot. So you just kind of like if you want to keep doing it, you kind of have to get used to that.
Sure.
And then develop calluses for certain things
Sure.
and yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So like the stakes are just kind of feel higher when it's, 300 people and not like a film that I can edit or not release if I failed at it.
Sure.
So it's yeah.
Yeah.
It just feels like it's very like instant feedback
Yeah.
for you.
Well, yeah, that is stand up. I think is one of the very few remaining art forms that's like it lives in the room. Like there's plenty of stuff that I will never put out, like moments and things that don't go well, but just go fine.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, all right, well, in the room, I got the job done. I managed everything, and then like
Right.
did the set. But like, yeah, when am I gonna like go and edit it and
Right.
present it to the world? So like, no, there is like, at least that kind of small caveat with stand up. It's
Yeah.
like, this doesn't necessarily have to follow us.
Yeah.
Film, this out there forever.
Well, that's true. I suppose that's
know?
true. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you are doing your set,
Uh-huh.
say you're creating, content for Instagram, do you have someone in the audience filming for you? Or do you set up a camera on a tripod, or how's that work?
Yeah, we set up a camera in the back
Okay.
that just records, and then I have a little lav mic that I plug into my phone
Gotcha.
to get audio,
Okay.
and then record, sync up the stuff later. I'll usually like, right when I get off stage, I'll like kind of recall, like, whatever, the guy in the army who cheated, and I'll like write that down
Oh, right.
in my
Do you know where to scrub to? And,
Yeah,
like, find
yeah,
the spot
yeah.
and make your clip. And,
exactly.
Gotcha.
And I have a lot of like, Nashville show 3, nothing really. Other than just like my
Right.
set. But then I know not to look at show 3. Yeah, that's kind of the basic process
Gotcha.
of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you seem to have gotten pretty successful at the the personal branding side of things, and I was just interested in how you developed that. Like, where did it that kind of a knack for I don't know branding and social engagement? Where'd that come from?
Yeah, man. I mean, I hate it. I hate branding. I
Sure.
hate social media. It's just
It's a game.
It's a fortunate part of
Yeah.
what we all do now as artists and creators. Like, yeah, I mean, the knack for it, I don't know. I don't think I have a knack for it. Like, I just think it's a necessary evil of what we do. I mean, that's the hard thing about it is like so much of art is like the process, and you're like still growing and changing but then there's this need to share because
Right.
if you're not sharing, then you're not like real or whatever, which
Oh yeah.
simulacron, but we won't talk about it. But like, it's like, yeah, there's this kind of industry pressure, audience pressure, because people want to be like, oh, that was great, I was there, wow, really cool.
Mhm.
Like, oh, I want to come see you at a show. But like, I think it's more of a need than a knack. And like, what I try to do is just make shit that I like, that feels fun and cool, and then like, cut it up and share it.
Yeah.
And like, people take it or leave it.
Right.
And like, I don't know, it's fine, it's successful enough, but like,
Yeah.
you really have to remove yourself from, I think, like likes and like engage, like, all those things I think can just ruin us so quickly.
The content mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you start losing, like, we're talking about the why earlier. It's like, then you start losing, like, why you even started
Yes.
doing stuff in the first place.
Absolutely.
Like Britney Spears looks really messed up right now because she's like trying to be an influencer.
Sure.
And it's like,
You start making concessions on
Yeah.
what you put out and what your art is because you need to feed that machine.
right. And,
Yeah.
and I'm sure there's something very in her mind is like, well, I'm fucking Britney Spears. Like, I'm
Right.
the icon of a generation.
Keep the brand going.
Yeah, I got to keep engaged. And it's kind of like, there's certain people you kind of see it. It's like, oh man, are you okay? Like,
Right.
the cost of needing to feel validated online it can be a little weird.
Yep. And I get it, like getting a good YouTube comment or a bunch of likes or a bunch of followers from
Mm-hmm.
a piece of content. There's this like intoxication you can get from it. This kind of just like,
Literally.
yeah, it feels good. It's a very nice dopamine hit.
Yeah.
And it furthers your I guess your capacity to make content.
Yeah.
Or, to reach out to people.
Right.
So there's this like it's a transfer, but sometimes it's a negative transfer.
Yeah, and I guess what I'm saying is like I'm not saying not to do it, but just like
Yeah.
find that balance of like engagement is cool, positive feedback is really dope, but like if you start chasing that super heavily, then it gets like a little,
Yeah.
And I've been there. Like it's not fun. It's
Yeah.
not good. And then like the times that I'm just kind of creating or performing in ways that feel kind of like just, oh, I want to do this. Those are the most rewarding moments for me. So
Yeah, same.
yeah.
What are some things that you like to read or watch? What kind of inspires your creativity or informs your, your comedy, your music, or what helps?
Well, I can't read.
Fair.
It's a product of the Iowa public school system. No. What do I like reading? I mean, right now, I think maybe the nature of this conversation is kind of. I like reading a lot of like Eastern philosophy stuff and just kind of. Have you heard of like Sufism?
Yeah, I have. I just haven't read into it much.
It's this sect of, I believe, Islam. It's like in the traditional practice of it was all the dancers and poets and musicians, and the whole thing was predicated on like if there is some divine energy, it is like the same as art in that they are things that can move the emotions of like
that's cool.
Thousands of people theoretically at once, but you can't physically hold in your hand. And it's like it kind of gives this magical sense to creation and making stuff. And I don't know. I've been reading a book by Israt Khan, who is a Sufi mystic right now.
Mm-hmm.
But that's been that. I've been going through and watching like really old, like the earlier Simpsons seasons.
Okay.
It's incredible, just like comedy writing. And I didn't know Conan O'Brien was actually like.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, he was like the head writer for some time.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Those early seasons.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So it's cool to like kind of know that little fact and and I just saw American Fiction.
I'm not sure what that is.
It's a great movie. Jeffrey Wright is the star of it. I think Issa Rae is in it, and it's about this this black author who is like just trying to write novels,
right?
And can't get any momentum.
Okay.
And then he, out of spite, writes this novel that is like a very flattened black experience of like it's like a crime takes place between a drug dealer and his son, and it's just like so kind of hacky.
Sure.
Like what Hollywood has deemed the black experience, and it's such a great commentary on like media and portrayal of minorities, particularly like the black community, that I thought it's so funny. It's so very funny. Yeah, I don't know if they're even showing it in Iowa, but like
is this a newer movie?
Yeah, it just came out.
Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
It just came out.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Those are the things.
Check that out.
What are you watching?
I just watched Poor Things.
Oh, okay.
That Emma Stone and Mark Ruffalo. That is an incredible movie.
Yeah.
Like just visually and story wise, like it's a great commentary on like bodily autonomy and I don't know, just the human experience in general, because it's follows someone with basically the mind of a child who, kind of growing up into society and just very, living very authentically as herself and the consequences of that.
Yeah.
It's very good. I highly recommend it.
Cool.
It's beautiful
Poor
too.
Things.
Beautiful, beautiful movie.
Okay.
So I wanted to ask about just kind of like higher education. Do you feel like going through this graduate program and even like your schooling in Atlanta that it significantly helped your creativity or your creative process? Because I talked to a lot of people that went to film school and they're like, it's nothing different than what you could learn on your own. It's just the connections you get from it. And is that a similar experience you had, or was your education, much more informative?
I think for me it was. I think people that are brilliant could totally do it on their own, and probably do. I really enjoyed having guidance to be exposed to really different stuff. Like I was a critical film studies major, so like
Oh,
to watch so many different genres and foreign films and then like talk about and dissect them, like there's no way I would have been able to do that on my own.
sure.
I think there are people that have that natural abilities, and it's like more power to them. But for me, it's just like exposure to new ideas, and then people, obviously, as you're saying, it's like relationships you build
Right.
and things of that nature. But yeah, I think that was vitally, vitally important
Yeah.
for me.
The specifically like the structure and the ways that they helped you kind of look at these things.
Yeah, and just like
Yeah.
being able to, in my particular major, it was like critique work, which is so invaluable as you keep going and start making stuff on your own and like understanding, in edits, how timing affects everything,
Yeah.
angles, depth, design, sound. Oh, sound is
Sound is huge.
massive. I wrote my senior thesis on the sound and gravity, and just how the way that the sound design works, and that it immerses you into space, into darkness, into the void.
Cool.
And it's like, how do you, and
Yep.
it's so important. And yeah, like I think I wouldn't have had any of that depth of critical talk. I wouldn't have gotten that unless
Gotcha.
I would have gone to school.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a fair point because a lot of what we do is trying to make you feel something without being aware that you're feeling it.
Yeah.
And so for someone to watch a film of whatever genre and like they feel those things, but you need to have a lot of introspection or structured language
Right.
to help you grasp what you're actually
Right.
feeling and what you're actually experiencing.
And not being so heavy-handed with it so that the viewer's like, oh, I kind of see through the nuance of what they're doing. I mean, that's what stand-up is. It's like there's been so much talk about like, like there's like a whole sect of comedians who are like, "Man, you can't say what you want anymore." It's like they've always been able to say what you want to say. Comedy, the craft of comedy is getting away with it. So if you're not crafting your shit well enough so that the audience understands what you're talking about but is laughing,
Right.
and they're like, "Oh, whoa," and then kind of after you're like, "Whoa, he talked about that really fucked up thing," but we all, you know what I mean? Like
Sure.
that.
There's a
If you can't get away with it, then you're not actually. It's not you can't say what you want to say. It's like your joke isn't structured well enough,
sure.
or like your film isn't edited well enough or structured well enough that people are kind of subconsciously affected.
Right.
Right. Yeah, I hate that. I hate comics. I mean, you can't say what you want to say.
Right. Because they give the whole we're the court jesters, we can say whatever we want with impunity. I don't think that's
No,
it.
like
that only applies to punching up, I think.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Which is important to not punch down, but like yeah, like even with punching up, it's like you gotta get away with it, man.
Yeah. There's a layer of tact and a layer of, grace you have to give to these jokes.
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, you're just saying shit, which
You sound like
everybody
an
can
asshole.
say. Exactly. But yeah. Anyway, all to the point is like, yeah, I think learning nuance and structure and all these things, like, I think education was really important.
Wow.
For that.
Yeah.
Go to school. Whoever
Learn something.
in the camera, go to school.
Yeah.
If you can. Or be brilliant and just learn on your own. I'm not, just learn. How about that?
So what's next for you, man? What do you have coming up? And how's the journey been so far?
Nice. Nice. You got that right. Okay, so journey so far. Cool, up and down. I've had day jobs the entire time.
Sure.
Thankfully, was employed. And, I just would never... Listen, man, there's a world where this is obviously this works in no capacity, and you got to get a job to, But for now, like I have 3 part-time jobs, and when I tour, tour, and that's kind of like how I'm able to live. And
Sure.
then shows in the city pay a little bit, but not a lot. But yeah, I mean that's kind of the reality of it. And then I mean, it's been good. I think overall I'm very grateful and like lucky
Yeah.
to have even tried. Like I didn't have to like fight my parents on it.
Sure.
In fact, I blame them largely
Yeah.
because they like put me in the arts when I was young. And so
Did when you moved off to Atlanta,
yeah.
did you and then going to LA and then Brooklyn and all these other different things, did you have a backup plan as far as like, what if this whole thing falls apart?
Yeah, I mean, I've thought about it.
Yeah.
Like, teaching has always been interesting to me.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, there are other like more mindless day jobs
Sure.
that could work, but not really. I mean, the best advice I've gotten was just like keep going because creative things take a really long time.
Yeah.
It just take a really long time for you to like really get it.
Yeah.
And to feel like you're expressing yourself in a way that feels true to your vision and who
Right.
you are. And I'm still like barely there.
Yeah.
So that is
What is-
exciting. Like nothing else would excite me in that same way.
What does there look like for you?
I mean, in like a practical sense, I guess it would be like being able to go perform wherever to people that wanted to come see me,
Sure.
doing my particular thing. But by other metrics, it's like well, we're already kind of there. Like,
Yeah.
it depends on how you measure it.
Yeah.
And I think like I said earlier, it's just like trying to make stuff that feels fun and exciting and feels like something that like really so much of this, and I think where the imposter syndrome comes in is like you're really digging inside of yourself all the
Yeah.
time, and then you find a thing of inspiration and you're like, oh shit, well this is that.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I'm like copying or something, like, oh man, I shouldn't even be doing
Oh,
any of it, and
Right.
it's like, no, put that
yeah.
aside. To be inspired by other artists is it's the whole thing,
Yeah.
So I think that there is just kind of like doing something, performing live in a way that feels like really fun and exciting and like unique to me, and to feel like I'm really self-expressing myself in a weird fucked up way that my brain is wired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's next?
What's next?
What do you got coming up?
What I got coming up,
Or any goals you want to, hit for 24?
so I suck at these, man. I'm
Oh.
really bad at goals. I'm really bad at 5-year plans. Everything that's happened has not been a plan of mine.
Sure.
The plan is like, can I just pay rent and eat food and
Right.
continue to do what I do? That's kind of the plan. I mean, I'm hoping to bring this weekly show back that I had for a while last spring with two of my buddies who are great comedians who are like, I also think this is important. Make stuff with people that are like better than you.
Right.
Yeah. Like storytellers, comedians, musicians, whatever. Like do stuff with people that are better than you because it's just going to make you,
Yep.
Get so much better.
Yeah.
So I was running this weekly show in the spring with two comics that are like, I absolutely look up to. And that got me really good really fast because it's like, you're going to,
Yeah.
You don't really get tested if you're like kind of like punching below your weight or
Yeah.
You know
If
what
you're
I
the
mean?
smartest one in the room all the time, you're not going to get smarter.
yeah,
You know?
because then people are just like, yeah, I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
You're the smartest, and it's like, well, after a while you can plateau. I think it's super important. So ideally, it'd be bringing that weekly show back, because that was a really cool thing. And I know we talked about building community and all that stuff, and that was such a tangible way to be like every week, yeah, audience is coming, but like there was just such a good hang of like comics,
Yeah.
and we would all do the show, and then we'd hang out after, and it's like that felt really nice. I think to bring that back would feel very gratifying. And then other than that, man, I think just trying to drink more water,
There you go. Some stretching in.
Yeah, do a little more stretching. Water is so very vital.
Yeah.
kind of slept on. Probably should get better at it, like 5-year goals and things of that nature. But you know,
It seems working out for you so far, man. I don't know if you need to change the formula.
yeah, and I don't know if
And
I
like,
would feel any better.
I feel like it should be okay for people to not have a 5-year plan or a 1-year plan. Just like
Right.
I don't know if you want to call it the universe, let the universe bring what it will, or just find things that you like and go for it.
Yeah.
You know, you don't need to have like, you know, in 2 years, I'm going to be the head of a thing or the, you know, the leading person in this thing. Just do what works and do what you like. And like you said, keep working with people that are better than you.
Yeah. And I think, like, stay engaged, keep going. Like, don't be like, well, I don't have a plan, so I'll do it in a month. It's like, no, I say, I practice every single day.
Be disciplined and consistent.
Yeah, like, put in all the work you can, and then I guess it's kind of like just let the cards fall where they fall, because there's so much in this industry, there's so much shit you can't control. Like, so just work as hard as you can, put the best shit out that you can, and then, like, you know, try to enjoy it. Now, I also know people that do write down their goals, and that works really well for them.
Sure.
So there is a lot of find what works for you, but I think you can't replace like consistency and discipline.
Yeah.
You know.
Wow.
So yeah.
Well, great. Gosh. Ghosh. Do you guys?
I love it, Jake.
I'm cutting that out.
No. You got to keep that in.
That's
there.
going away.
Gotta keep that in there. Gotta.
So as we wrap up, man, how can people find your work? How can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram and on TikTok and online at neel.ghost, NEEL.ghost, and I changed it to Ghost because no one could spell my last name.
Huh.
And I know it's just
Fair
one
enough.
letter off, but for some reason, whoa, double E. Anyway, find me on there, follow me, and Mediaverse. This was fucking cool.
Mediaverse. This was fun, man. Thanks so much for coming on.
Of course, anytime. Very excited about what is happening here.
Thank you,
and
man.
Can't wait to see what y'all do.
Hell yeah. Well, that's all we got, man. Thanks for coming by, and
thank you, Jake.
We will see you guys in the next episode. Bye, everybody.
Bye.